Good morning again. We are looking at this topic why teenagers push parents away. Just imagine the scenario where you want to know as a parent everything your daughter or your son is doing. You walk up to their room and they suddenly close everything they're doing and keep staring at you, waiting for you to leave. And if you don't leave, they would even say it. Now, can you please leave? Or why did you come to my room? What is it that you want now? Something that they snap back at me, and it hurts. Somewhere what I've done for my child all these years, where my child was coming and sharing, and now my child has turned the other way around. What could be happening? I have a teenager that I know, super efficient. I mean, she can do everything on her own. She cooks, she wakes up on her own, she doesn't need any parental help. And if parents step in to the kitchen while she's making her own lunch and breakfast, she would just leave the house without even eating or taking anything to eat. What could be happening? You know, the adolescent, the child in the third stage of child development from about 14 begins around 12 and a half. They are developing independent thinking. They are paying attention to their own feelings, their ideals, their identity. And somewhere they're unconsciously asking, who am I apart from my parents? Do I have my own definition of who I am? What do I truly believe? My parents have been telling me, do this, respect elders. I had a family situation where the grandfather asks the grandchild, stretch as long as the bed is. That's a quote. Don't overdo. Life should be in balance. And the grandchild goes, what if I get a longer bed? And then it's like, oh, you're questioning me. So the child is confused. What do I truly believe? What is right? Is the adult right? Is my parent right? My grandparent right? And do I want to become like them? What kind of person do I want to become? We hear that with youngsters these days. You have conformed, you went as a rote way of doing to your science college, engineering, medicine, account, CA, whatever. No, I want to have a food stall on the roadside. I get to meet lots of different people. I get to do service. And then it's a taboo for me as a family. Right? I have a friend whose son went through engineering degree because we asked him to, the parents asked him to, and then he became a tattoo artist. So, what am I becoming? What kind of a person do I want to become? What is worth giving my life to? These are the questions teenagers are asking. I think even we asked these questions, but we didn't really have like a clear framework to it. We did not articulate well. We were more into conforming and going with what the crowd was doing. And somewhere I did not like what I was doing and I suffered. And some of us were blessed enough to find that calling. Yesterday I was attending a session by an author who discovered that he was a writer when he was in his mid 40s. Until then, he started off doing something, he failed at it, he gave up, he became an agriculturist, did not do that great, so was not happy doing that. Eventually, he discovered that he was a writer at heart. And now he has written books over which people are doing PhDs. He's selling his novels. And he's successful now. But somewhere he had been asking this question, but when he was a teenager, if he said he would become a writer, people would reject. So I have to hold it within me as a teenager. I cannot say it out because my ideas are also changing on daily basis. Today I want to be a writer, tomorrow I want to be an astronaut. And then we as parents are telling to decide on one, stick to one, focus on one, do one for you to be successful. So children move from this thinking that my parents know everything, my teachers know everything, to maybe they are wrong. Maybe their ideas are not my ideas, or I do not want to take up their ideas and hone skills accordingly. This isn't necessarily disrespecting adults, it is that awakening of independent judgment. Children in third stage begin to awaken those hidden skills within them. Many of us may become successful in snubbing them. That is when we see when we are a little bit more nagging, suppressing, telling children, do it my way, I know better, or you are under my roof, so you got to listen to me. Then children begin going behind the closed doors. They want secrecy, they want privacy. And that is also need for the second stage. Children mostly want their time to themselves. Somewhere there is so much of turmoil happening, right, wrong. In the third stage, they're also looking for truth. So do they see the truth? Do they see the integrity in what we speak and what we do? So they need that space to come to terms with their own inner world. So they ask question, can I have a place that is only to me? So they slam their doors on us. They turn on, we are nagging, we are knocking, we are calling out, we want to talk to them, we want to find out, oh my God, something is wrong. These days children have their rooms and that's there, but when we were growing up, 5, 6, 10 of us lived in like a very small place, we were running into each other. I remember when I was a teenager, I would come home from school and sleep. We lived in a very small house and we always had guests. I did not want to deal with anybody. So the best excuse was sleep. So I would wake up at 9:30, 10 p.m. so I could study until 1, 2 a.m. And my parents thought it was such a brilliant idea. She sleeps. So they made situations comfortable for me to sleep because they thought I was studying. Part of it I did study, but part of it is wanting that space for myself when everybody's asleep. I don't have to reason out everything I'm doing. Right? So when they do not find all of these conducive environment, they start having these strong emotional reactions. They blurt out their extreme anger, or they could also be extremely embarrassed. When I keep bragging about my son, oh, my son does this and this and that, comparison, parents get into that a bit. Child is feeling embarrassed. They withdraw. I do more of it. They may withdraw more, just disconnect from the world. They could become defensive. They could argue with me. Right? Again, I find all of this very weird, but the child is expanding from within. Expansion is the rule of nature. All of us expand. If I don't pay attention to it, even my problems expand. So this is very, very natural for the child to feel that way because they are transitioning from being under our care to beginning to take care of themselves. And that is what we have been wanting. We have been raising our children, but the way they do it is very crude, and we think it as rejection, disrespect. May not be the case at all. Many of the times it is not the case. It is just the child coming to terms with their own expansion, and they don't understand it. And there's no filter also, when to speak, when to not speak, when to yell, scream, get angry. They don't have that. Whatever comes, they just deliver it. And eventually we develop filters, and I may not be happy with you at all, but then I wait for a time and place and use some good words, articulate well, so I still maintain the relationship. But children don't worry about that. So that's why friendship becomes more important. Friends are in the same boat. They're all feeling the same way. So children start going out more, coming home less. When they come home, they slam the door, they don't talk to us. All that is natural development. Nothing to really, really worry about, because children are experimenting with their own identity. Who am I? That's why they try different fashions, different clothing styles. If it is too cold, you tell them to wear a jacket, they would not. It is too hot, tell them not to wear a full sleeve shirt, they would. Right? They have their own opinions, they won't agree with us, they want to argue with you. They have weird habits, different habits that we are not used to. Their music preferences are different. Their way of food is different, their friend circle is different. Somewhere the child, the adolescent is trying all possibilities, trial and error of trying to find out who am I, what do I resonate with. It's like a buffet. And they're trying everything out. The brain is expanding, the brain is developing, the prefrontal cortex where they can judge, decide for themselves is developing. There is a need for autonomy, right? So it is not a problem when children want privacy, when they disagree with us, when they spend more time with friends, they question our opinions, they want independence. They appear embarrassed when parents talk to them in public or even to be with us. I have gone through that. I felt very embarrassed to be with my mother when my friends were around. And experimenting with their identity, all of those are very, very normal. We should not worry so much about it. In fact, we should be happy that the child is in the right path, developing in the right way. Seeking guidance, help, when the teenager could be in trouble, especially in the modern times with screen addiction, drug addictions, whatever, you could be worried about them getting into trouble. What are these signs that you should be worried about? When the child is very, very hopeless, and I can never have friends, nobody likes me. It's very persistent and it's very strong that they are exhibiting through words or through their body language. They don't come out of their rooms, they don't not interested in eating anything, they don't want to go to college, they are putting on weight or they're losing weight. They don't call any friends, no friends come visit them, and they're trying to do self-harm, they're cutting themselves, or over dieting, they cannot sleep well. All of these situations where there is a need for us to pay attention to. Otherwise, this normal happy-go-lucky child, when he's happy with his friends but not happy at home, fine, that's perfect. Right? Because child is learning in this stage, 14 onwards till about 18, 19 or so, they want to separate from us without disconnecting with us. So that's a challenge for me, but I need to be aware that that's the need and support with creating that conducive environment for them. So they're not pushing us away. They're becoming an adult on their own. Thank you.